All right, welcome to Bet the Edge. I'm Jay Croucher here with Drew Dinsick. As always, we're going to do all NBA today, talk Rookie of the Year after Wemby's explosion, the fewest regular season wins market, look at the NBA slate on Wednesday, and then we'll close out by talking about the Tim Bontemps straw poll on MVP. Bontemps has really cornered this part of the market, really carved out a nice niche for himself, having christened the straw poll as his own, which does shape the market a ton. But let's start off, Drew, with Rookie of the Year. Wemby went insane in Canada. We are recording on a Tuesday afternoon, so last night. 29 minutes, 27 points, 14 rebounds, 10 blocks. He is the only rookie in NBA history to register a triple-double with blocks in less than 30 minutes, as you'd expect. And now he's a minus 650 favorite to win Rookie of the Year. Chet Holmgren is plus 500. I know there's been some Brandon Miller chat. He's not winning unless Wemby and Chet both get hurt, like tomorrow. Do you think this award is done, or do you think that there might be a twist?
I think it's done. I think it should be more like minus 6,500 than minus 650. But I am also coming at this through largely statistical lens, right? Largely all-in-one stats, which is what I use to synthesize team ratings and fair prices for specific matchups. And I don't even need to I don't even need to pull the curtain back on the secret sauce behind what I do. What I do is very, very similar. It really borrows a lot of what Darko is based on. And I was just cruising Darko out of curiosity, just looking at some of the improvements, plus minuses, sorting some of the different stats. Do you know Wemby is third of all players in the NBA right now in box DP? That is truly absurd. He is only behind, what is it, Kawhi and one other player. But I fell out of my chair when I saw that. He's top 14 in all-in-one DPM, which is kind of more context-based because it does include on-off. And he's doing it all with a relatively light load in terms of minutes played. There was a moment during the offseason in our NBA chat where it was like, if the MVP race felt a little flat, and we're like, man, maybe there's just such kind of an opening this year for a surprise candidate. Maybe Wemby could win it at 100-1. And I made some small bets there just because I was like, that would be a cool novelty if it happens, if he actually does kind of meet the expectations. He's exceeding them. He's doing better than I think people thought he would do, particularly at this stage in his development. He's surpassed, the career trajectories of LeBron in his first or his age 20 season. He's passing, he's gotten to this level faster than Jokic did. He has blown past Giannis at his early stages. Like any other kind of general comparison you could make to players who reached all-time great status, he is getting there faster, and it is amazing to see. I really, really don't know what could happen outside of injury that would take this out of his hands, and the fact that they've been kind of very, very carefully, managing his usage and his minutes should make it that much more likely he gets there. So this is going to go down as an all-time rookie campaign, and I think he's going to win this one unanimously.
Okay, yeah, I think if you're constructing an argument against Wemby, it can only be that we don't have a ton of polling or voter sentiment on the award, and there is a chance, albeit I think a very small one, that people think that the counting stats are just close enough with Chet, that Chet is actually contributing to a team that could be a 1 seed. And Chet's advanced stats are incredible as well. He's narrowly edging Wemby in EPM. The only thing where I just think that will fall down is that this award has never been about team success. It's never been that. And some people have talked about, I think before Wemby started playing at center and started playing with Trey Jones in the starting lineup, there was the thought that, I think Zach Lowe said that, this awards just don't go to teams on, who are whatever the Spurs' terrible record was at the time, while Chet is on one of the best stories in the NBA and a team that could get the 1 seed. I just think ultimately people will default to the phenom, to the guy who has counting stats that are starting to lap Chet. I think Wemby is going to end up at 21, 22 points per game, 10 to 11 rebounds, over 3 blocks. His efficiency has lifted now that he has teammates who can actually throw him lob passes to dunk. And Chet is right now, Chet's averaging 16.8 points per game and 7.5 rebounds and fewer assists than Wemby and fewer blocks. And yes, he's more efficient, but I mean, if you're giving Chet Rookie of the Year, you're basically awarding someone for having Shai Gilgeous-Alexander as their teammate. And I think that where we're at now, like Kevin O'Connell and Michael Pina, who are both voters on the award, they tweeted last night that, you know, Wemby is on the short list for Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
And like he cannot win that award. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that because that award does not go to the teams who are 11-43 and have right now the 24th ranked defense, even if it's much better with Wemby on the court. But you know, I don't think it's 100% done just because Chet is so good. But I would be shocked if with health, if Wemby doesn't win, because one, if you divide voters up into those who, you know, value advanced stats and those who don't, my hypothesis would be that those who don't value advanced stats are going to get wowed by the Wemby phenom hype, the triple-double blocks dude who's going to take over the league. And then those who do value advanced stats, the gap is, you know, if Chet has a lead in any of them, it's small. And to your point about, you know, some stats like Darko, then Wemby is actually winning. So I think it all adds up to Wemby being clearly in pole position.
Can I ask you two interesting, fun little side conversation questions?
Sure.
If the Spurs were winning, would Wemby be a MVP candidate?
I mean, I think he had a stretch where, what was it? It was basically January, where he was playing at that type of level on, if you expanded out his minutes restriction out to like per 36, where you know, he's averaging like 28, 13 and 5 blocks per 36 or something insane. Talking to a mutual friend of ours the other day who said that like there's a good chance that Wemby is the best player in the NBA by next season. And he's probably not going to be an MVP favorite by next season because his teammates are still lagging and he's not going to be projected to be a top 6 seed in the West. But I mean, he's shown flashes, and Thinking Basketball, which is a great podcast and YouTube series by Ben Taylor. Ben Taylor did this video on Wemby about how Wemby has just had the greatest month that a rookie has ever had in NBA history. And when you see him break it down, it's pretty hard to argue. So, yeah, I'm all in on the Wemby hype.
So here's the other fun question. Save this one for last on purpose. If you swapped Wemby and Chet, number one, would the Thunder be better? And number two, would SGA be their MVP candidate, or would it be Wemby?
I think it would still be SGA as their MVP candidate, but I do think they would be better. I think Wemby's just better at basketball than Chet Holmgren. And I don't think that should be ultra controversial. I mean, that would change what their team is, but ultimately talent reigns, and Wemby's just at a different talent level. And I think so much as well of Wemby's stats tanked because of how Popovich screwed him around the first couple of months of the season, where playing point Jeremy Sohan and Wemby had like 50% true shooting when Trey Jones is off the floor because no one can get it to him in his spots. Like he's just like this giant guy out there. And now there is actually some order to his possessions. He has 10 dunks or whatever against Atlanta. He is, by defensive EPM, guys who have played 40 or more games, he's the second best player in the league on defense. So you add all that up, and yeah, I think this should be a wrap.
Well, I give a special shout out to Popovich.
Yeah,
if he hadn't done that, we wouldn't have given us the on ramp at plus money prices. So thank you, Mr. Popovich.
Yes, no, that was a gift. And look, there was a time when I thought that Chet was the rightful favorite for the award, back when it really seemed like Pop just wasn't going to play with point guard, and Wemby was just going to get all this 50% true shooting stuff on a 12-win team. But as soon as that flipped, as soon as they got Trey Jones in, and also not just Trey Jones, as soon as just his teammates learned how to play with him and how unique it is, and Taylor does a really good job in the video of being like, teammates just realized that he is unlike any other player in NBA history, where you don't even need to be like a good lob passer. You don't even need to be technically like a lob passer. You just throw the ball in his general vicinity and he dunks. And now that his teammates are kind of understanding that, it does kind of seem all over. All right, next market, which the Spurs also feature in, and the reason they feature in it is why Wemby isn't minus 10,000, and that is the fewest regular season wins market. The Pistons are your favorite at minus 150. They have 8 wins. The Wizards are plus 280 with 9 wins. The Spurs are plus 600 with 11 wins. The Hornets are 8-1 with 12 wins, and then the Blazers are, I still can't necessarily read American odds cleanly when it gets to that amount. I believe that's 700-1. And they have 15 wins, which is about right. Do you have any read on this market?
I have a small bet on the Hornets from a couple weeks ago that really could have used to not heartfelt wins for them, and really could use more dumping at the deadline, guys. Yeah, no, I think anyone who was with me on Hornets fewest wins got in at 50-1. I think it's probably going to die on the vine. The bottom of the NBA is really kind of interesting to talk about, I think.
Okay,
because I don't think it's like the current win-loss, I don't think is the correct in any way, like team strength.
Okay.
Right. And there's been, a team like that is, currently your favorite here is the Pistons, because they have the fewest wins. Is what, 4 to 6 point favorites right now over the Wizards in a head-to-head? Just because they're playing much better in Detroit. I would say they're like 4.5-ish. Like they would be meaningful favorites, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is they just added competent players as well. Like Quentin Grimes is good. Simone Fontecchio was starting for a team that was charging towards the playoffs. Like they have some real players.
Yes, they have real players. They have the players that they were expecting to make steps forward this year have finally started to make them. I thought, I mean, I was ready to basically throw Jaden Ivey in as a all-time bust. It's not going to happen, buddy. He's playing better. Just in general, some of these players that you had relatively little hope for are starting to figure it out, and that's because they have a good coach and and they're coming along. I would say that the likelihood that the people who are kind of in place of power now elect to tack hard into tanking again, I think is a little bit low. I think they're going to try to get this young crew a little bit of, kind of some feeling about how to play winning basketball to try to get a better start on, kind of building a winning culture into next season and beyond. The Pistons are not a team that I think is really going to continue to mire themselves in a process like, losing, framework. And so I think they climb out of this hole. And I've thought that for a while, which is why I was swinging away on like the likes of the Hornets. But if I had to have a bet now, it's certainly the Wizards. The Wizards are very clearly in the we are tanking now stage. It seems like there is a green light from everybody important who is involved that this team is not going to be trying to win basketball games down the stretch here. And the interesting question of what do you do with Jordan Poole kind of sort of the focus here. Like at some point, do you just pull the plug on him for this season and just try to reset next year and salvage anything there? Is there anything salvageable there? Like what exactly is going on with him that he has the largest negative year-over-year DPM of any player I've ever tracked. I kind of can't believe how big this number is. It's so big. So it's tough for me to say that they're going to be able to find anything in terms of winning form down the stretch, even though I like Denny Abdija. And I think in general, you're going to get some warm spots from some of the vets who, are going to want contracts on other teams next year. So from just a team framework, a team building standpoint, I think the Wizards are the most likely to kind of pull a plug on the season. And I think ultimately, the Pistons are going to be a team that I think the good teams that are resting players in preparation for the playoffs might find themselves on the wrong side of the win-loss column against the Pistons in the month of March and April, in my opinion.
Yep. No, I agree. I think the Wizards would be my bet as well. They're now giving Bilal Coulibaly big minutes, which is good if you're on plus 280 for them to have the worst record. With Poole, I know it's been covered, but it is stunning his fall from grace, which kind of started in the playoffs when the Warriors won the title. But earlier that season, 21-22, when he finished fourth in most improved player, there's like a material stretch after the All-Star break when I think Curry was hurt and they kind of turned the keys over to Poole to run the offense. And Poole was like 25-5 on like 65% true shooting. Like, it was insane. Like, I thought this guy was an outlier good offensive player, and now he's just completely fallen apart. He's always been bad on defense, but his offense collapsing is bizarre. I don't know. I guess just like the punch is still being felt, and he just fell off a cliff as a player, and now he's just lost all of his confidence. But I mean, this guy was going to be like the next great kind of sixth man type offensive player, and he's always been a good passer as well, and his range, free throw shoot, like he was in a special offensive player, and now he's just nothing. Like, he's just sad. He's like negative 2.7 EPM. It's a mess. And I do think the Wizards now, they are worse than the Pistons, just given that the Pistons they just have a range of kind of competent players. Like, people don't like Cade Cunningham. Cade Cunningham is still a net positive to a team, I think, at this point. Stewart, Duran, I know they've had injuries, but adding Fontecchio, we'll talk about him in the next segment, but Jaden Ivey's true shooting percentage is right there with Tyrese Maxey's season, which is why I don't think Maxey is just going to walk to most improved player. But Ivey's taken leaps. So, yeah, I do think that they will ultimately get past the Wizards. And you can't feel amazing about it because it's the Pistons, but I do think they are the better team, and they have the slightly easier
Let me pivot the question. And I know this isn't a market, so sorry if you're only listening to this for betting content. But if the question was framed differently and it was who will win the fewest games between now and the end of the regular season, who would be your answer?
It's Charlotte, right? I got to look at their schedule, but I mean, Charlotte
they're in the discussion for sure.
Yeah. Charlotte and Washington, I would think. Wait, do you have Portland to throw out? Portland have a really tough schedule, and they are terrible.
Yeah. I also don't know.
One of their guys.
Yeah. Portland is up there for me. And then the surprise teams would be the Grizzlies and the Raptors. I don't really know what the plans are there. Right? At what point do you literally just put Marcus Smart on the shelf for the season? At what point do you put Bane and JJJ on the shelf for the season because you're expecting to, rally hard next year and make a run at it? So, Grizzlies are worth watching how they manage their roster in tank mode. And then the Raptors, because their first round pick next year is only top 6 protected. Which means that there's a little bit of an incentive to work their way into being able to make that pick instead of sending it to whoever they traded Jakob Poeltl to. Would that go to the Spurs then, I guess?
Yeah. Bizarre trade. Still don't know what happened there. In terms of top 6 right now, the Raptors have the 7th worst record, but they are only 1 win in front of Memphis at the moment. It's pretty hard for the Raptors to tank all the rest of the way to have the least wins in basketball, but they haven't been good. I thought they were going to be better after those trades, and they just haven't been. The Pistons maybe 2 really good games away from having the 26th best net rating in basketball. They're right there, bunch with Portland, San Antonio, the Wizards. The Hornets are their own messy nest in 30th at negative 11.5. But yeah, the Pistons are on the up. Feel good about them.
Of the bad teams, that's the team you don't want to play.
Yeah. Well, let's see what Wemby does the second half of the season. He might. They might have another gear. All right, the countdown to spring training is on. So for those looking to get a head start on the upcoming MLB season, grab your Roto World Baseball Draft Guide. It's loaded with comprehensive positional rankings, projections, and player profiles to ensure your draft is a success. Visit NBCSports.com/draft guide and use code baseball24 to get 10% off at checkout. All right. Valentine's Day NBA, a massive slate of games, some good ones on the docket. Knicks at Orlando, Clippers at Golden State, nationally televised. Bulls, Cavs also nationally televised. That might not be so good. Sacramento at Denver with Jamal Murray and KCP likely missing. What's on your ticket for tomorrow?
Yeah, so we're only starting to see a couple of these openers pop. The only lines that I do not have in front of me, I had nothing yet for Indiana, Toronto. Nothing for Detroit, Phoenix. Waiting on Sacramento, Denver, which is the one that I am the most excited to bet. So spoiler alert, I love.
Well, you love, I think, the Kings so much that you just left the chat. But the one that's most interesting to me is the 76ers home to Miami. Miami's on a back-to-back. Like I said, we're recording Tuesday night, so they're about to play Milwaukee, and then they go on the road to Philadelphia, where Jimmy Butler is out, personal reasons. Terry Rozier is out as well. And the Sixers, who are effectively, well, close to full strength outside of Embiid and Melton, Sixers are only 4.5-point favorites in that game at the moment against the decimated Heat team that is on a road back-to-back. And I think that kind of shows you where the Sixers team is at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's very, very fair commentary. In general, the vibe you get if you watched much of the NBA the last two nights, there are a lot of players who are very clearly looking at the All-Star break as an opportunity to regroup. It feels like the fact that they have moved this back so far is starting to really kind of accrue meaningful issues with some of these players, health, availability, motivation, all of the above. That's one reason I like the Nuggets so much against the Kings, not just because we saw a pretty lackluster effort from the Nuggets against the Bucks, but Kings coming into this one with like absolutely on fumes. And so that one is that one's going to be circled for me. I would lay up to 7 with Denver in that game.
Wow, even without Murray and KCP.
Yeah, I think that one's going to be a walk. I think that one's going to be a walkover personally. Yeah, the Kings All-Star break starts 2 days early, guys. The rest of the contests are pretty equal in terms of just rest and motivation, actually. And the ones that I think are worth circling for just understanding where some of these teams are. The top power rated game from just an entertainment standpoint for me is going to be Clippers Warriors. Very, very interested to see how this Clippers team matches up against this iteration of the Warriors. The Clippers last night, of course, kind of threw up the white flag against the Timberwolves. I did not see that coming. That was a little bit surprising, and I don't expect them to do that twice, even though they're now on the road against Curry and the Warriors. Warriors are starting to figure some things out, but still I think are a little bit overrated, but they're being priced in the market. So that's the one that I'm by far the most excited to watch. You mentioned Miami, Philly, and the ramifications of that one. That one's going to be good. But my number 2 game would be the Knicks versus the Magic. The Magic are fascinating, man. They have the capability of being just such a superiorly dynamic defensive team, the way that they're closing these games out. When they move Paolo to the 2 and Suggs is playing the 1, and then you have Franz, Isaac, and Wendell Carter Jr. out there, it is like, I don't know what the answers are to that. I don't think there are answers to that. That's like such a phenomenal defensive 5 that in crunch time, they should be just truly elite defensively. And I think they're going up against the Knicks team that is probably the team that needs the break the most. The absence of Julius Randle has trickled down to the rest of the Knicks in terms of roles, responsibilities, effort on both sides of the ball. And, the Anunoby injury definitely disrupted what was turning into a really special defensive unit there. I'm fascinated to see how these teams match up in particular. And I would not kind of rule out that this is potentially your 3-6 preview.
Yeah, I think the thing with the Knicks, and it got a little bit lost in the wash when they kept on just accumulating these wins while they were so banged up. But like, this team just shouldn't be that good without Anunoby and Randall and Robinson. And to me, the most baffling line of the NBA season was when the Knicks, when they played the Lakers on national TV about a week ago, full strength Lakers, Knicks missing, everyone except for, I think, Brunson, DiVincenzo, Hart, and Hartenstein. And the Knicks were 2.5-point favorites in that game. And I think it's just difficult to price teams that have had just a rash of injuries and you just haven't seen the iteration of that team. And look, we haven't really seen this Knicks team with their new guys that much, but the Magic on a back-to-back is detrimental for them, obviously. But I think this Magic team is better than this Knicks team, as the Knicks are presently constructed. Obviously, that changes a lot when Anunoby, Randall, and Robinson come back. But I'm with you there. There is some potential. I think the Magic are going to win that division now over the Heat, just given that I think the Magic are up against it for the tiebreak, but the Heat are just so banged up, and they just haven't been able to get their offense right all season.
Yeah. Another fun wrinkle for tomorrow. We got a home and home with the Nets and the Celtics.
Oh, great.
They're playing in Brooklyn on Tuesday. They're playing in Boston on Wednesday. And what interests me about that game is the total. I'm on the under tonight at 227.5, but you know what I like even more? Under 228 tomorrow. This one is going to be tough to see these two teams come back at each other after playing the night prior this close to the All-Star break and see like truly efficient and free-flowing offense. That looks like that game might be an absolute slog. So yeah, I think just in general, we're in for an underful Wednesday.
Okay, go. What a magnificent home and home. Nets-Celtics blockbusters. All right, Thursday night is another chance to watch a new chapter in college basketball history when Caitlin Clark chases down the all-time NCAA scoring record when Iowa hosts Michigan. Coverage of the Big Ten matchup starts at 7:30 Eastern, and it is exclusively on Peacock. All right, the Tim Bontemps straw poll on MVP was released Tuesday morning. I don't think the order will be that surprising to people, but perhaps the distribution of votes will be. Nikola Jokic had 69 first-place votes and kind of lapped the field. He was on every single ballot. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 24 first-place votes, and he was on 99 of the 100 ballots. Giannis third with 2 first-place votes, distant third naturally, and then Luka, a distant fourth beyond Giannis with 3 first-place votes, but he was only third on 17 ballots, or maybe the better way to frame is that he was top 3 on 23 ballots, and Giannis was top 3 on 56 ballots, and then Kawhi Leonard, Jason Tatum after that. I don't think they're going to be winning MVP. So this was taken from, Bontemps said, from Friday night to Sunday night. So I think that is material because Luka laying a beat down on Shai was on Saturday. Shai then bouncing back with a monster game the next day against the Kings. Probably wouldn't have been that included in this. And then definitely not included in this was Giannis having perhaps his biggest MVP statement game of the season in destroying Jokic and the Nuggets on Monday night, about a week after he laid waste to Dallas as well. Now, there were some bad losses sandwiched in between those two games. But what do you make of the market now?
Oh man, this is a little choose your own adventure. Honestly, like you can kind of read into this. I think anything you want to read into positively about this not being done. This, the market is kind of cooled a little bit as well, which I think is right. We were getting to the point where, any more adjustments, any more momentum for Jokic in this market was going to be tough to anyone to catch him. And he's, I think he's coming back down a little, which is correct. And if you have a Shai ticket at an absurd number, the path is there. Go get the 1 seed. Like Clippers aren't running away with it apparently after what we saw last night. The Timberwolves are catchable, and the Nuggets certainly aren't playing very good ball right now. Although kind of to your the drum you've been beating, which is correct. Like if the Nuggets are going to play well, Jokic is going to have to step up his particular counting stats to do it in the absence of some of the support here. So I think ultimately it is there is a path to victory for both SGA and Giannis. I think everybody else you can pretty much put a line through. Of course, there is still a lot of basketball left to be played, but I don't think Doncic and the Mavs are getting there, and I think Kawhi and everyone below him has too much ground to make up. The fact that there is a pretty clear entrenching here of Giannis at 3 is a good thing for him, I think, in being able to run down Jokic. I think they absolutely must have the 2 seed. He has to get them there, which, by the way, he is not really getting much from anyone else on that team right now in terms of contributions. And I think ultimately if he puts together 1 month of, a basketball that looks like what you saw from Embiid in January, for instance, where it's like, this guy is so clearly the best player in the NBA right now. The fact that he's already there in the top 3 in everyone's mind, I think, is enough that he can run down Jokic. And so I guess that's the 2 things to watch are just overall, what is he doing on a night-by-night basis? Are people talking about him as the best player of the NBA in the month of March? And then for SGA, it is literally, are the Thunder going to be able to run away with the 1 seed? If neither of those things happen, it'll be Jokic, and then it'll be kind of by default, I suppose. But if you had to submit your ballot at right now, effectively, for at the All-Star break, do you think it would be that same order, 1, 2, 3?
I think so, and I was a little surprised that I thought Jokic would win the straw poll and do it relatively comfortably. I didn't think the gap would necessarily be this big, though. I think it does make sense that everyone is still caught up in this kind of post-Embiid vacuum, and Jokic is just the obvious candidate because everyone thinks he's the best player, and he's neck and neck with all these guys in terms of record, slightly behind Shai, slightly in front of Giannis. Luka is a step behind. I just don't think he's having a great season by his standards. This is his worst season by APM in 5 years. The Nuggets have a +9 net rating when he's on the court, which by Jokic standards, I mean, there was +12.5 last season, and he took the last month of the season off effectively. And he just has nights where he's just not like super invested, it seems like. And I kind of find it hard to believe that we're just going to go through the rest of the season and the Nuggets get but 3 seed or something, and we're just going to hand MVP to Jokic when Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, with the second best teammate, who is a second-year player in Jalen Williams, and a third best teammate who is a rookie in Chet Holmgren, and is leading the Thunder to potentially a 1 seed, and very likely to be bunched up around the 1 seed, and has an EPM that is lapping Jokic and lapping the entire league outside of Embiid. I would just expect, I'm kind of projecting that there will be a swell of momentum for SGA, and the market right now, which has Jokic -155, SGA +260, Giannis +650, and then Doncic at 12-1. Those odds don't represent my idea that if SGA finishes above Denver in the standings, which is close to a coin flip, I don't see how you can give Jokic MVP over him. Now, there is a chance that, and this is the difficult thing to bake in, like, I think there was always going to be an arbitrary bump for Jokic, in the same way that there was an arbitrary kind of demotion for him last year because people didn't want to give him 3 in a row when he hadn't made the finals yet. I think because of how bad people feel about how that all went down and how he kind of indirectly shoved it in their face by winning the finals and kind of answering every single question about him in the best way possible. I do think there will be something of an overcorrection. And also with that comes just the sentiment that he is the best player, and that counts in this award. And maybe that is enough to just carry him home if he's close enough. But if he has do you think if he has a worse record than SGA that he's going to beat SGA for MVP?
No, I don't think he will. I mean, that the margins are narrow, and I guess here's the thing: this straw poll has a tendency to echo within the market. Do you agree?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you think about 2 years ago, it completely flipped the market on its head between Embiid and Jokic.
And what do you read with what you're seeing today with betting activity? It's not really anyone's like, oh, this is a done. Like, it's much more of a, oh, okay, well, we got three runners. That's the way I see it, at least. And if you have strong disagreement that Giannis should be 720, you think he should be closer to 400, I won't disagree with you. If you think SGA should be closer to, plus 180 instead of plus 280, I'm not going to disagree with you. I think that right now I would make Jokic closer to something like a pick'em. So I think -150 is a little bit of a bad price, and I would distribute a little bit more win equity for both SGA and Giannis, with, again, kind of the caveats that they have more to do, right? SGA, I mean, like even if it's a 1 or 2 game margin between OKC and Denver and they're 1-2, then that's splitting hairs a little bit, and it's probably going to go to Jokic because of the legacy, because of the anchoring. But if the Thunder are like resting players down the stretch because they've got the one locked, then that's probably it. He's going to get it, and you should prepare yourself for that. If you have all of your equity in Jokic, just play a little defense, I think.
Yep, I agree. I think a couple other things. So Giannis, in terms of what his path is, I think he needs the 2 seed. If he doesn't have the 2 seed, I think he's pretty close to dust. He probably needs the Wolves or the Clippers to get the 1 seed. Well, I think he definitely needs the Wolves or the Clippers to get the 1 seed, and ideally they're your top 2 seeds. He also plays a ton of marquee games in March. Giannis does, where he has this stretch where he plays like the Celtics on national TV, and then he plays the Thunder, and then it's the Lakers on national TV the game after that, and it's right in the middle of March, and he needs to really go off in those games. I mean, right now, statistically, he has a case that can win. It's just that everyone views the Bucks as this kind of disaster show, and so you can't give him MVP. 0% to win if the vote was held today. But if they do go on a surge, which they should be fully capable of, given they have a ton of talent. And Giannis is seen as kind of dragging this team. Giannis has a plus 14.5 on-off this season. The team is no good. It's been a terrible team, and he's single-handedly dragged them to 34-19 or whatever their record is. And I think that if they do finish hot and he balls out in these marquee matchups, particularly the one home to the Thunder in March, then I think that he can win and he has a path. Doncic is interesting because, he's the kind of the buzzy candidate at the moment. And a lot of people have brought up that, he averages more points, rebounds, and assists than Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So how can he not be a candidate? It's like, well, his team is way worse than Shai's team. And Luka has the perceived best teammate across the 2 teams. Right. And Luka's defense is way worse. His efficiency is worse. And I think all of that is enough to clearly give Shai the advantage. Now, if the Thunder were to slide and Jokic coasts, and the Thunder are your 3 and your 4 seed, and the Mavericks get to 5, and the Bucks keep on spiraling a bit, I think Doncic can absolutely win MVP in that scenario. But a lot of dominoes that need to fall in his favor. So I was close to putting a line through Doncic a couple of weeks ago. I think the way that things have unfolded, for 2 months now, he's averaged like 37 points per game. Like, can't put a line through him. He's insane. But his advanced stats are always like, the team is not even that positive when he's on the court. Because the net rating is on-off is like minuscule compared to these other guys, which infects all his advanced stats. So he has a lot of heavy lifting to do. I think he could get there, but I think he's he particularly, it's really hard for him to win a head-to-head matchup with Shai, just given that, because he's got Kyrie and no one thinks of Jalen Williams or Chet in the same neighborhood. Well, maybe neighborhood's a bit rough, but I don't think they're as good as Kyrie. And the Thunder are just on a better team, and all the intangibles go to Shai.
Shai's also played 6 more games than him this year, which is something people always look at, availability being an important factor. I don't think he's at risk of missing qualification. He's missed 8 games so far this season. It would be a fluky thing for him to have an injury that would make him miss enough time to not qualify. But you gotta think about that. I personally think if he's 7 or 8, which is where I have the Mavs pointing right now, then you put a line.
You can't win. You can't win from the play. A lot needs to go right for Doncic, but I do think there is a kind of Westbrookian path for him, but he needs Shai and Jokic to fall off. So in the end, I think Giannis's price now is probably about fair, just because he has so much of the Bucks stench to overturn. So plus 650, I think that I would probably rather back that than lay it, particularly after the win over Denver. But to me, like, my big opinion in this market, and I'm willing to die on this hill and have positioned myself on said hill accordingly the past week or so, but I think Shai should be the favorite in this market.
Whoa.
Maybe that's not baking in enough that arbitrary bump I was talking about for Jokic, but I think we're just going to get to the end of the season and people are just going to look into this more, as opposed to be just wowed by the mystique of Jokic. And there are a lot of other factors that work in Shai's favor in terms of him being, the new Derrick Rose 2010-11 type of candidate against the, already two-time winner made man who's not having a top 3 season in his career. So I think that is my sense of how this is going to go. Thunder also have an easier schedule than the Nuggets down the stretch. They're in front of the Nuggets in the standings right now. I think Gordon Hayward is going to help them a ton because I think he's just better at basketball than Josh Giddey at this point, and he gives them a lot more flexibility. The Thunder go out every night in regular season games. The Nuggets don't. The Nuggets just randomly, we're down 30 to the Bucks. All right, whatever. I know the Thunder had a bad loss to the Mavericks, but generally they take the regular season seriously, much more so than the Nuggets have. And I think I'm willing to die on the Shai Hill.
Okay, let's put a pin in this and come back to it to talk about the Thunder. Because if you're feeling that way about the Thunder broadly, there's some big prices out there for the Northwest right now. For just in general, there may be a synthetic way to hold Shai at about this price for MVP, and then also capture some other stuff. So that's an interesting concept. But yeah, I would have made it so. Yeah, just if I was making a book, I would have done like 45, 35, 20 right now between Jokic, Shai, and Giannis. But yeah, Shai's favorite is pretty fun hot take.
Yeah, no, aggressive take. I think, but regardless of whether you think he's favorite or not, it kind of doesn't even matter in terms of what you can actually kind of enact in the market. And what I am very confident in is that Shai and Jokic should be more closely bunched together than -155 plus 260. I am very confident in. As to whether Shai should actually be the favorite, I do believe that, but that is certainly aggressive relative to market. But it's it doesn't really matter. So long as you believe that they should be more bunched together and that Shai is better, shorter than plus 260 fair, then that's all that really matters. So go Thunder. All right, we are done. Don't forget to check out NBCSports.com for more information to help you with your wagers. Thanks to those of you watching on the NBC Sports YouTube channel. If you're listening to us in podcast form, don't forget to rate and subscribe. And also a reminder to find all your favorite NBC Sports shows on Amazon Music. Just head to amazon.com/NBC Sports. From Jay Croucher and Drew Dinsick, we'll see you soon.